Once, in a land where the call to prayer from a mosque echoed alongside the ringing of church bells, and the soulful chants from a Jewish synagogue filled the air, that Palestine is now reduced to rubble. How did a land of coexistence turn into a battleground soaked in blood? Who's to blame, the occupier or the one resisting? This is not just a history of land, it's a tale of humanity and of dreams lost in dust. Let's uncover the buried truth of this blood-stained chapter. Chapter 1. Introduction. What was Palestine like before Israel? The word Palestine is not just the name of a region. It symbolizes a way of life, a human tapestry, and a tradition of coexistence. It was once a rich cultural mosaic where people of different faiths lived side by side in peace and harmony. In the 1800s, Palestine was under the Ottoman Empire, known for its tolerance and diversity. Life was mostly peaceful, simple, and closely tied to nature. Muslims were the majority, but Christians and Jews were an integral part of the society. They were neighbors, they knew each other, and they shared deep mutual respect. Religious identity wasn't a dividing force, rather, tolerance was a way of life. But things began to change by the end of the 19th century. In Europe, Jews were facing intense discrimination and violence, which gave birth to the Zionist movement. Its goal was to create a homeland where Jews could live in safety and independence. Their eyes turned toward Palestine, a land they called their historic homeland. But the reality was, these Jews made up only about 4 or 5% of the population at the time. It was mostly inhabited by Muslim Arabs, whose ancestors had lived there for thousands of years. From 1882, waves of Jewish migration from Europe began, known as Aliyah. Many Jews bought land from Arabs and began settling. But the trouble began when foreign powers interfered, especially Britain. During World War I, Britain aimed to weaken the Ottoman Empire and take control of this region. Support from Jewish communities was crucial to their strategy. Palestine was no longer just a piece of land. It became a pawn in a global geopolitical game. Chapter 2. The Balfour Declaration, British Rule. In 1917 came a moment that would change history, the Balfour Declaration. In a letter just 67 words long, British Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour wrote to Zionist leader Lord Rothschild. His Majesty's government views with favor the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people. This tiny letter planted the seed that would forever alter the future of Palestine. It was backed by powerful Jewish groups in Europe, wartime alliances, and British strategic interests. Britain needed Jewish support to tip the scales of war, and also wanted to build an ally in the Middle East to protect trade routes like the Suez Canal and access to India. After the war, Britain took control of Palestine from the Ottomans, under the League of Nations mandate. But in reality, Britain used the region for its own colonial interests. During this period, mass Jewish immigration surged, especially from Germany, Poland, and Russia. Between 1920 and 1940, the Jewish population rose to around 30%, a massive demographic shift. The native Arabs began to feel alarmed and angry. They saw their lands being taken, their identity erased, and a new foreign state being built on their soil. Britain's double game, promising independence to Arabs while supporting a Jewish homeland, created deep mistrust. From 1936 to 1939, the Palestinians launched a major Arab revolt, demanding an end to Jewish immigration and British rule. This was their first organized resistance, but it was brutally crushed by British forces and Jewish militias. Its failure severely weakened the Palestinian independence movement. Then came World War II. The horrors of the Holocaust, where 6 million Jews were murdered, shook the world. In 1947, the United Nations proposed to divide Palestine 55% for Jews, 45% for Arabs. But Jews still made up only about 1/3 of the population. To Arabs, this plan was deeply unjust. The Jews accepted it. The Arabs rejected it. From that rejection would rise a devastating war. Chapter 3, 1948, Birth of Israel, First War. One day before Britain's mandate ended, Jewish leaders declared the State of Israel under David Ben-Gurion. It was a bold move and instantly triggered war. The next day, Egypt, Syria, Jordan, Lebanon, and Iraq invaded, determined to crush the newborn Israel. This war is known as the First Arab-Israeli War, or, in Israel, the War of Independence. Despite being outnumbered, Israel not only survived, it seized 22% more territory than the UN plan had granted. Its success came from superior strategy, well-prepared militias, and support from Western powers. But for Palestinians, this marked Al-Nakba, the catastrophe. About 700 Palestinians were forcibly expelled from their homes. Entire villages were destroyed. They became refugees overnight in Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, Gaza, and the West Bank, where many still live in camps today. Their homes, land, and belongings were taken, and they've never been allowed to return. Though international law grants refugees the right to return, Israel has refused to recognize it. Meanwhile, Israel portrayed itself as a sanctuary for Holocaust survivors, a safe haven earned through suffering. They claimed the state was built for protection, but to Palestinians, Israel became the new occupier, backed by weapons, money, and global influence. Two completely different narratives took shape, each fueling a conflict that has no end in sight. Chapter 4, Wars and Occupation, 1956 to 1982. In 1956, Egypt nationalized the Suez Canal. In response, Britain, France, and Israel launched a joint attack. Israel seized the Sinai Peninsula, but international pressure forced it to withdraw. This showed the world Israel was now playing offense, not just defense. Then came the Six-Day War in 1967. In just 6 days, Israel defeated its Arab neighbors and captured Gaza, the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, the Golan Heights, and the Sinai, later returned. Thousands more Palestinians were displaced. Israel began building settlements on these lands, illegal under international law. The UN condemned it repeatedly, but Israel ignored the warnings. These settlements have fragmented Palestinian territories, making a future Palestinian state nearly impossible. In 1973, the Yom Kippur War broke out Egypt, and Syria launched a surprise attack on Israel. Though they regained some ground, the war ended in stalemate. In 1982, Israel invaded Lebanon, targeting the Palestine Liberation Organization, PLO, based there. Israeli forces entered Beirut and drove out PLO leaders. Soon after, in the Sabra and Shatila refugee camps, Israeli-backed militias massacred hundreds of Palestinian civilians. This led to the rise of a grassroots Palestinian uprising, the First Intifada, which began in 1987. It was a spontaneous rebellion, rocks against rifles, a cry of desperation that caught the world's attention. It reminded the world that Palestinians were not giving up. Chapter 5, Peace Efforts, Treaties, New Violence. 1990, 2020. In the 1990s, there was a glimmer of hope, the Oslo Accords. In 1993, PLO chairman Yasser Arafat and Israeli PM Yitzhak Rabin recognized each other. It was a historic handshake and gave the world a dream of lasting peace. The plan: limited self-rule for Palestinians in Gaza and parts of the West Bank, governed by the newly formed Palestinian Authority, PA. It was the first step toward a two-state solution. But the dream soon faded. Israel continued building illegal settlements, violating the very essence of the deal. Checkpoints multiplied, freedom of movement vanished, and Israel built a massive separation wall around Palestinian areas. In 2000, the Second Intifada erupted more violent than the first. Palestinians launched suicide attacks, and Israel responded with full-scale military operations. Thousands died, mostly Palestinian civilians. During this time, support in Gaza shifted toward Hamas, an Islamist group that rejects Israel's existence. In 2006, Hamas won elections in Gaza. After rocket attacks from Hamas, Israel launched massive airstrikes and imposed a brutal blockade on Gaza. Gaza became a prison under the open sky. With borders sealed by both Israel and Egypt, there was no way out, no trade, little power, or clean water. Over 2 million people live crammed in this tiny strip in worsening humanitarian conditions. The UN and global human rights groups have repeatedly condemned the crisis. Chapter 6: The Present Crisis and Global Response. In 2025, Gaza has become a graveyard. Especially since the 7th of October 2023 Hamas attack, Israel's response has turned Gaza into a field of rubble. Schools, hospitals, media offices, even refugee camps all bombed. Residential areas targeted, thousands of civilians dead, most of them women and children. Electricity is out, water is scarce, food is disappearing. It is a full-scale humanitarian disaster. Israel says, "We are defending ourselves." They label Hamas a terrorist group and claim their actions are for national security. Palestinians say, "We just want to live." To them, this is not about terrorism, it's about survival. After decades of occupation, blockade, and injustice, they are not just fighting for land, but for dignity, freedom, and basic human rights. Humanity is getting lost in this war. Many around the world now call for war crimes investigations. While governments still back Israel, ordinary people are standing with Palestine. From America to Europe, South Asia to the Arab world, thousands are marching, protesting, showing solidarity. University students, artists, scholars, their voices are growing louder. Social media echoes with the cries of children, the screams of mothers, and the search for life among the ruins. But no political solution is in sight. Peace talks keep failing, while lives keep getting worse. Israel refuses a two-state solution as long as Hamas exists. Palestinians cannot accept continued occupation and expanding settlements. Children in Gaza are born to the sound of bombs. Their childhood is stolen, their minds scarred. They grow up behind walls in fear. Yet they continue to resist, not just for land, but for honor, freedom, and the right to live as humans. They still dream of a day when they can live freely in their homeland. This conflict is far from over. The Israel-Palestine story remains a wound on humanity, not just a religious dispute, but a question of justice, morality, and civilization. The world still seeks answers, and perhaps one day true peace will return to this land. If you found this video meaningful, please like it. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel.